Hello everyone, so it's Bethany, Oreo, and Stevie, and we are gonna do the front deck garden tour for October. I don't understand how this garden season went by so quickly because October is usually when I will start to pull some of my annuals and things really are winding down, and yet somehow we are here. So I'm on the front deck right now. That's what today's video will be. The next video will be the tour of the back deck, and you have to let me know because next year, I'll have 3 deck spaces, including the garage. So does it make sense to still keep these split up? Because I don't want the tours to be too long. However, is it too repetitious if I have 3 different tour videos all in a row? So let me know what you think. I guess the pigeons are gone for now, but I'm on the front deck, which faces west. This is our rooftop deck, so it's 3 stories up and it does get full sun. It is 18 by 19 square feet, and because it is a deck, everything that I'm growing here, except for the pigeon, is growing in a container. So let me show you how everything is looking for October, which I feel like is better than normal because it's been still pretty warm all throughout September. And now there are 3, as Shadow, the one who follows me around the most, has also arrived. Starting off with a sweep of the garden. So I have 6 total elevated beds out here. 4 of them are from Grownomics, and the one over here with the sunflower stalks is my oldest one that I got in 2019. And then this year I added 2 Epic Gardening elevated beds as well for a total of 6. This has to be my stopping point because there is no more room up here for elevated beds. But we're going to start right here with the center raised bed and then take a look what's growing in front of it and then what's growing inside of it. Down in front here, I have 2 of the exact same rose shrub. These are the Oh So Easy in Fuego. They are not in bloom right now. I'm wondering if I'll get some more before the end of the season. I'm not sure though. But they have pink roses, like very hot pink with some light pink variegation. They're really pretty. I just don't know if I'm going to keep them because I'm finding that in my small space, things that have thorns and trying to navigate around them, that's not my favorite thing to do. It's not always very effective. So I'm either going to find a place for these. My plan is to overwinter them in the garage and still keep them till next year, but either I'm going to find a place for them somewhere that's more out of the way, or I'm going to give them away to one of my friends. So that is what is down here. And I think they're each in, well, that one's definitely a 12-inch pot. Maybe that one's in about a 10-inch pot. So I will probably have to size them up if I do keep them going forward. Okay, if you're not going to help, give the tour. I am going to have to ask that you keep it down a little bit. Thank you. In my center raised bed here, I did replace the plants for fall. I'm pretty sure they were replaced in the last tour. What was here for the majority of the season were the Queen Lime series zinnias, but they got covered in powdery mildew, even though I politely asked them not to this year. So I did pull those, I think it was back in August, and replaced them with some other flowers. I blanketed the bed with pansies, which I am using to harvest and press, and I just love the extra color that it adds. The salvia has been a favorite of the pollinators, so I'm glad that I added that this fall. I'm definitely going to have more in my garden going forward. In the corners, I put pechoa, which was promptly eaten by the budworms. The budworms have gotten all of my petunia, pechoa, calibrachoa flowers, so there is one hanging on there. I have some marigolds also on either side, and then I have some echinacea, and my favorite one is this fresco apricot. I think the form of it is really pretty. I also think the color of it is really pretty. And then coming around the back, I do actually have, so I planted 3 piles of broccoli. I see one plant, I see another little seedling, but I didn't see the one here. But this plant did start to grow, which I did not plant. Google image search tells me that it is nightshade. Let me know if that's true or not, but I'm assuming maybe a bird carried a seed over here and distributed it into my garden. So I think that might be how it got here, but I'm going to let that grow for now. But this is everything, and it's kind of a mishmash, but I love it, that is growing in my center raised bed. And I think the colors here are going to look really pretty. So that maple tree is just starting to turn. It will get a little bit brighter. I'm trying to remember, one of them is more red, one of them is more orange. This one started to turn early, but I love when that's the backdrop in my garden. Coming around this way, I have my table and 2 chairs that I've had out here. Well, I've had these before we even moved here. So it's at least 6 or 7 years now. And then the tablecloth I just added this year from Amazon, and I really love the look that it adds to my garden. So I think now we'll probably come around and look at these white flowers over here. This is my flower cart that I got from Deer Park Ironworks 2 years ago now. I think this is the 3rd season, and I got it to store pots, which there are some pots behind the flowers, and then also to use as vertical planters. I usually fill it with a bunch of different colors, which is the general theme of my garden. I did all white flowers this year, and I love it. I love it so much. I might do this exact same planting going forward, so we'll see. The only change I'm going to make is that on the left here is the black-eyed Susan vine coconut appeal with the white flowers, the black centers. There is also, you can see the heart-shaped leaves, a morning glory planted behind it. I usually do morning glory. It's my first year for the black-eyed Susan vine. I love it so much more. 1, it actually flowers, and 2, the density of the canopy of these leaves. So next year, I think I'm gonna have, so there are 2 black-eyed Susan vines in about a 12-inch pot. I think I'm gonna do, well, actually, let me pop over the other side and show you what it looks like. So that's the pot with 1 morning glory. That's the pot with 2 of the black-eyed Susan vines. I think that next year I will just do 2 black-eyed Susan vines here, 2 black-eyed Susan vines here, and just have this whole thing absolutely covered. On the top shelf of the flower cart then, I have just a flower box, and in the flower box are 2 of the Campfire Marshmallow Bidens, and then there are 3 of the Dichondra Silver Falls. The other one, I actually really like how this is looking, but the one on this side is intertwined with the black-eyed Susan vine, which is also intertwined over here. I just really love how these have all grown together. And then down in front, there's another pot that also has 2 of the Campfire Marshmallow Bidens and then 1 of the Dichondra Silver Falls. And I like how, because they're planted with the same plants, it kind of looks like they all just flow together, and I really love that. Then in this 12-inch pot, I have 3 of the Snow White Gomphrena. I love it. I harvest these. I use them to dry. Oh, also, I need to mention something important. So the garden slump, which is what I call the time period when you stop wanting to do any of your maintenance tasks, that hit me really hard around mid-August. So as I'm showing you around both this garden and the next video, the back deck garden, know that for over the last month, maybe like 6 weeks, I have not fertilized. I have not checked for pests. I have not pruned. I have done nothing but water. So if things look really good, like the black-eyed Susan vine, know that that is without having done any of those things in the last 5 to 6-ish weeks. So I am actually taking this as kind of a learning experience, and the things that still look really good, I'm going to add more into my garden and hopefully make it even lower maintenance next year. Now back to the tour. Moving over from the flower cart, I have my herb garden, which desperately needs to be harvested and dried. So I have 2 of these stands on either side, which I have a pot on the top, pot on the bottom. I have smaller individual stands. I will link all these stands below for 4 pots. And then I have like a stair step shelving unit here for the rest of them. So I have, if I remember correctly, 8 different flavored mints, which I really have loved trying all the different mints. I think pineapple is probably my favorite, pineapple or basil mint. Well, chocolate mint's always my favorite too, but of the new ones. Starting in the top row, I have regular thyme. I have my garlic chives, which it's my first year growing them and I love them. They're delicious. I have the basil mint, chocolate mint, and then I have lemon thyme. Down below the lemon thyme, I have a pot of parsley. And by the way, all of my herbs are in 8-inch terracotta pots. They could be in larger pots, but for the amount of herbs I'm growing in a space my size, that's kind of the largest I can do if I want to fit everything. But some of these, like the mints, could especially use a little bit more room. Middle row here, I have apple mint, orange mint, strawberry mint. Down on the front step here, I have the pineapple mint, banana mint. Oh no, those are actually on the front. So down here is pineapple mint, banana mint. In here, they're all growing together, is the oregano, and then I have lemon balm, pineapple sage, and rosemary. One change I know I'm going to make next year from my herb garden, potentially, is to grow fewer herbs up here, more herbs on the garage deck, because the garage deck connects right to the kitchen, makes it a lot easier for the herbs that we use to cook. So I think how I'm going to split them up is anything that we use to cook with, so the oregano, the thyme, basil, herbs like that will go on the garage deck. Anything that I use for tea, because I dry those upstairs, I will keep up here. So all of the mints, I'm on the hunt for a grapefruit mint, my lemon balm, my pineapple sage, I think those are the main ones I use for tea. Those will stay up here, so hopefully I can either spread them out a little bit more or use some larger pots for some of them. Although every time I say I'm going to grow fewer of something, somehow the next year I still end up with more. So we'll see what happens, but that is my herb collection. So far I haven't noticed, because they're all so close together, I haven't noticed any like flavor contamination between the herbs. I have been asked that before. Not that I can tell, however, the mint is trying to grow in the pots next to it, as it is very invasive. So I think I need to give them a little bit more space next year. From the herb garden then, I have one raspberry bush here. I'm going to keep them over winter, but I still think I'm replacing my raspberry bushes with smaller ones that do not have thorns, but I'm going to keep them over winter for now. I have one zinnia left. I thought I had pulled all the zinnias and I forgot I still had one. This is the Alpine, I think it's Alpine Glow from Floret. I think there's only one flower right now, but it definitely has powdery mildew as well. So I pulled all of my zinnias without saving seeds, because the internet told me don't save seeds from plants with powdery mildew, but then Christopher said he read we could. So I'm going to let these go to seed, and I will save some of these seeds for next year. In the bed behind, this is one of the epic gardening beds that I added this year, is my native perennial bed. However, I'm going to need to make some changes. So most of what you can see is the rudbeckia. I also have some prairie onion in here. I have some echinacea. I have a milkweed growing in there. And I am realizing that the rudbeckia is too aggressive to be planted in here with everything else. So instead of moving it now, my plan is going to be to see if it survives the winter. It did last year, so I'm assuming it will this year. And then if it starts to grow back, I will pull it up and replant it. But I don't want to worry about replanting it now if for some reason it doesn't come back next year. But I just need to give other things in here a little bit more space. And I think literally 2 weeks ago, I forget whose Instagram account it was, but they said, don't put these in containers with other plants. And then I was like, oops, I already did that. So I'm still going to keep this as my native perennial bed, just pop these out into their own containers. Then I have my gomphrena bed. So this is my gomphrena bed every year. Every year since I have had this bed, there has been gomphrena in it. I planted the most gomphrena I ever have this year, and it wasn't on purpose. So I did my first round of seedlings. Some of them looked really small, really leggy. I wasn't sure if they were going to survive, so I did a second round, like right next to them, and I think they all survived. Now, some of them are dead, probably because there are too many in here, but I love how full this is. I mean, you can't even really see the bed, and I've been surprised because I have gomphrena on the back deck. I'm surprised at how much of a, not like a true spiller it is, but how much it does come out over the bed and really create a nice look to it. But I'm probably not going to grow quite as many here next year, but I'm definitely going to have it again. It's one of my favorite plants. Again, have not fertilized in over a month. I should have been harvesting already. That's one of the other things I haven't been keeping up on, because ideally, unless you want them to go to seed, you don't want to wait till they look like this to harvest. You want to harvest when they are still round little ball shapes. So look at this one. So I need to get in here to harvest sometime soon, but I think it's been like so messy and crowded that I haven't wanted to mess with it. Now, the majority of these in here are pink. That was not on purpose. I got a gold and a salmon. So QAS gold, or no, not gold, QAS rose and salmon. And I don't know, oh wait, hang on. It's a cardinal, hello. Hi. Just starting to get your red feathers, I think. Or maybe that's a female. I think it's a male. I don't know, someone let me know. Anyway, so I got QAS rose and salmon, and they ended up being the same color. So I don't know if what was labeled salmon ended up being rose, because this pink looks much more like a rose than I would ever describe a salmon. I'm going to try getting a new pack of salmon next year and see if it's any different or not, and we'll see how it goes. But other ones that are kind of mixed in here, I have QAS orange, QAS carmine, which is my favorite, so I need to do more of that next year. The red in the back is strawberry fields. So there are at least 12 plants in here, probably more. Moving over to my veggie patch area, which another change I think I'm going to do next year now that I have the deck garden, is grow more vegetables. So the first year I went vegetable crazy back in 2019, and then I discovered buying flower seeds online and kind of went flower crazy. So I'm going to try to find a more balanced approach next year between the two. Is that bird in my tomatoes? This pot was a mistake. This is what I figured out was lemon balm. What was in there were strawberry plants that I overwintered that started to come back, and somehow lemon balm must have gotten into it because it very quickly took over. Now I like lemon balm. I don't need that much of it. So at the end of the season, I'm going to pull this one out. The cardinals and the tomato plant behind it, but I'm going to pull this one out, probably leave it empty over the winter, and then figure out what I'm going to plant in it next year. Here I have 3 pepper plants from Burpee. They are in 7-gallon grow bags. I like 7-gallon for most of my plants. It's definitely the grow bag size I use the most. And then in it, I have 19-inch cages that I get from Home Depot. It's the only place I can find them where they're like good quality. And they are the size cage that I use the most in my garden. But I have a red, an orange, and a yellow. I think most of the peppers right now are green. I don't know how much more time I have with them as things are starting to cool down, supposedly. But I am still getting some peppers. I am still getting... Did you just take that tomato? Did you just take that tomato? You can have it. Oh, look at him. I know birds really bother some people's gardens, but, well, one, the pigeons just aren't interested in anything I'm growing. But I don't have too much of an issue, so if birds take some of what's in my garden, it never seems like they take too much for me to also enjoy. Look at him, or her. All right, I'm going to try to continue the tour without scaring it away. So behind, which you can't really see, but behind the 3 7-gallon grow bags, I have 3 30-gallon grow bags, which I have had since 2019. They stay outside. I've reused the same soil in them year after year, just adding more compost and fresh soil to it each season. And so far, so good. But this works really well for my tomato plants. I find that the space, so if you're looking for a large container, grow bags are going to give you the best bang for your buck. If I tried to get a 30-gallon of any other type of container, it would be so expensive. But these I got in a pack, and I think it was a pack of 5 for $30. So individually, they came out to about $6 each. So I have those back there. I have a cherry tomato plant here. I have a cherry tomato plant there. I pulled kind of a beefsteak tomato plant that was in there. And then also it's kind of crowded now because, again, not keeping up on the pruning, but there is a lemon basil. I think it's the Everleaf from Burpee. Next year, that is going to be the only basil, not variety, because I think like the lemon Everleaf, and then they have other flavors in the Everleaf. I can hear the pigeons behind me, but I have cut it, see if I can show you, I have cut it all the way back so many times, and it just keeps growing so quickly. So that is going to be my go-to basil for next year. So let's move over here then. Over on this side, I have my other raspberry plant, which was a propagation from the first one. So 2 for the price of 1. Can I help you with something? I don't know if I liked it better when you were making noise or just awkwardly staring at me in silence. Anyway, walking through my veggie patch then, as my pants get caught on the raspberry bush, which is why I think I'm going to replace it. In this raised bed, I had some more zinnias, some more annuals that got powdery mildew or died back on their own. I also have wood sorrel that grew out of the crack, and I thought that was cool, so it's growing out of the crack here. I just let it do its thing. But I have radishes that I need to harvest. So these have been in here for just about a month. Let me see if I can get you in there. But I have a good amount of radishes in there that are ready. Behind the radishes, I have one status plant that I need to harvest. And then I have some beets I need to thin. I'm going to try to pull this wood sorrel because I just want it grown at the cracks, not the top of the bed. But beets in here that I'm going to thin. I might do another round of radishes, so I'll probably harvest these later today or tomorrow. Put another round in there as well because they should reach their mature size before we get our cold frost, I'm hoping. And they are cold tolerant, so they should be fine. So I think that's going to be my plan. Also, I forgot I planted a marigold seed in here until maybe about a month ago when it finally started blooming. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. So I have one marigold that I'm growing in there with the tomato plant. I am in love with my dahlias and they're going crazy. September is always the heaviest blooming month for them. I've had these for 2 years. So I planted them last spring. I overwintered them in the garage in their pots. So I just chop the plant down after it dies back, usually November, bring these down to our garage, which stays at 40 degrees, water them maybe once every 2 months. I watered these less than the other plants that I overwinter. I will do a whole overwintering video on my dahlias, but these are the second year for these in my garden. They are both not what the label said they were, so I can't for sure tell you what they are, but I know that they are really pretty. So this is one. This one was labeled Penhill watermelon, but I got a new Penhill watermelon this year and it looks more like what it's supposed to, so I don't think this is it. I see a cucumber beetle in there who's going to be eating my dahlia leaves, so I'm probably going to harvest this one after the video, but this is the only one that has the light pink tips on the petals. I don't know what caused that, but I think that is so pretty. So that is one of the dahlias. And then the other one is one I never would have chosen because this was labeled Lilac Thyme, and I think you can tell by the color, it is in fact not Lilac Thyme. It's a cactus dahlia, I believe, just based on the petals. But this has been the perfect color for fall bouquets. So I'm so happy because I don't normally tend towards red, but I'm so happy I got this. So again, I'm going to try to do the same thing, overwinter them in the garage, and hopefully they'll come back next year for year 3. This is my oldest raised bed. I've had it since 2019. It's from Grownomics, which I got from their website, but I think they sell them at like Home Depot and Walmart as well. This one is lower than my other raised beds, but I really like it because then I can grow taller things in it and don't have to worry as much about them getting blown over. So I had my Sunridge Summer Provence sunflowers in here, which have stopped blooming. So I tied 3 each together to make my pea trellis. And these will stay out here over winter. I might hang some ornaments from them because why not? And then in the spring, I will use them again for that round of peas. But I have my peas in here. I need to add some more twine to help them climb, but those are doing well. And then in front, I just have a mix of pansies that I'm again going to use to press. I think there is a random status in there that I need to harvest on, and then I will probably pull those, or I might wait till next year. We'll see. Then I have my mini fruit orchard, which I feel like I'm so excited about for next year. So I have 2 columnar apple trees. These came in a kit from Park Seed. You have to have 2 different varieties so that they cross-pollinate. I got 3 apples off of one of them that I can't remember now because only one started flowering early. The other one just started flowering at the tail end of the first one, so I hand pollinated, and the one that flowered later actually got pollinated, and I had 3 apples and they were delicious. I will be upsizing their pots next year, and then I have the mini honey babe peach tree and the Chicago hardy fig, which I have gotten 2 figs off of, 3 figs off of already, and they are also delicious. But these 4 I will plan to overwinter in the garage. I think some of them are hardy enough to stay outside, but because they are extra special to me, I want to give them a little bit of extra protection. All 4 of these will be on the garage deck where I'm going to make my little mini orchard. And again, that's why I haven't repotted these. I was very silly thinking that the garage deck would be done this season. So I'm going to keep them in those containers over winter, put them in the garage, and then repot them next spring. I am so excited for that. And then behind them in the other epic gardening bed is, well, first Bob. This was a volunteer sunflower, which was thicker and stronger and taller than any I planted myself, as I feel like always tends to happen. And he did really well, and the birds still really like eating the seeds. So I'll probably cut Bob down before the winter. I'll leave the other ones, but maybe cut him down. I'm not sure yet, just because with the snow, it might fall over anyway. We'll see. Then in the bed, I have just random flowers. I have pansies. I think that's the autumn Blaze Black-Eyed Susan. I have some verbena. And then I do still have a dahlia. The main stalk broke off in the wind, but there's one growing this way. And it still looks fine. And there are buds on it. So I'm going to let it do its thing. And I think that's everything I have in my garden. So let's do a final sweep so we can see what the garden is looking like in October. I am somehow still sweating being outside in October, so it hasn't really cooled off too much yet, but that is my garden. Friends are still here. So that's going to be it for this video on the front deck. Next video will be on the back deck, which is roughly the same size, but it gets the full morning sun. The pigeons seem to like this deck more, so I don't know if all of them will be out there, but I guess we'll have to see it and find out. But I will link all of the previous month's tours down below, just in case you want to see how it's changed over the season. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next video. Oh, and let me know for next year if you want all 3 garden decks in one tour or still like them split out into 3 different tours. Thank you so much. I will see you soon. Bye. You guys want to say bye? You guys want to say bye? Okay.